Hey everyone, I'm Lyle Burks with the Viking Speaks. This is the 48 Laws of Power. Hey everyone, Lyle Burks here again. So today we have the 31st day of the 90-day video challenge. And for the next 48 days, I'm going to cover the 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene. Understand that these are not necessarily my views nor my experiences, but I'm going to do the best I can to help you understand what I learned from the book, The 48 Laws of Power. So with that, we have Law 1. Never outshine the master. Each of these chapters begins with a quote. And the quote that starts this one off is, always make those above you feel comfortably superior. So now, for the Transgressional Law, what they talk about is there was King Louis VIII of France. He had a finance minister. Now this guy, there was a person that was a prime minister prior to that, was either beheaded, died, whatever. He wasn't there anymore. The finance minister wanted to be the prime minister, right? So he was also well known for being able to choreograph parties, put things together, very organized, well known, well liked. So what he did is he put on this big lavish party, and he went all out. He did an Oriental theme, the whole 9 yards, brought in foods that people in France at that time had never tried. Just boom, boom, boom. Next, left and right, he was just knocking it out of the park. He thought everything he was doing in his mind was to show loyalty and respect to the king. And he thought, man, if I just go top notch on everything, he's going to see how much I respect him and how much I appreciate him. The problem was, King Louis wanted to be the center of attention at all times. And because of his insecurity, he felt that the finance minister, Fouquet, I believe his name was, he was purposely trying to outshine him. So the problem with that was Louis was no longer the center of attention. So as they went along, the king acted as if everything was fine and all that. And the finance minister was ecstatic at the end of the night. He thought he pulled it off without a hitch. The next day, over the next week, the king had the finance minister arrested, and he spent the last 20 years of his life in one of the way he described it was the worst prison in France at that era. So he spent the last 20 years of his life in solitude because he went overboard, and he made the king feel as if he was not center of attention, less important. Now on the flip side, Galileo was a mathematician in his era, about 1600s. I want to say it was 1610. Now prior to 1610, he was kind of a beggar. He took his inventions and gifts and things of that nature, and what he would do in order to get more students so he could continue to earn cash and everything by students paying him, was he would make gifts of his inventions to the nobility of the time. And as a result, they would either recommend him or send him people to continue his studies. But that got to be a pretty strenuous lifestyle. I mean, imagine it basically it's a commission lifestyle where every single time you make the sale, you start over. So Galileo was also an astronomer, and he used his telescope that I believe he made. He discovered Jupiter's moons. Now, at the same time, there was a royal family that had come up to their dynasty, and I may be butchering this name, the Medicis. Now remember, this is in Italy, so I'm not good with Italian names. But what he did was, Kosomo, I want to say, was the first of the dynasty creators. His sons, all four of them, Kosomo II and his three brothers, he used his discovery of the moons of Jupiter as a a sign from the stars of their dynasty and power, and how it would be long-lasting and almighty and all these things. And the stars themselves witnessed their power and wanted them to be great, all those good things. He tied those two together. And the fact that there were 4 moons and 4 brothers, he integrated all that. So he basically told them, like, look, even the stars recognize your omnipotence, I believe was one of the words he used. Basically saying the universe itself cannot deny your greatness. So he took this scientific discovery, and in order to gain favor with the nobility at the time, he made it as if their coming dynasty was the reason the moons existed. And as a result of that, they brought him in, gave him a wonderful position. They made him the royal philosopher, gave him a full salary, and that guy never had to beg again. Galileo made his way by making his master feel more great and powerful than he was. Even though Galileo was a scientist and he was able to discover and he knew exactly what those were, he gave them glory. So one of the quotes in there also says, instead of insecurity, give your master glory. Make him feel creative and powerful. You know, even though the master may not necessarily be the most intelligent. Take Henry Ford, for example. Henry Ford knew that he was not the smartest person in the room, and he was okay with that. But he was not your average or your normal leader. He didn't have those insecurities. He, in fact, embraced his insecurities, and he brought in people smarter than him, so when he hit a switchboard button, he knew he could have an answer. But the Medicis, Galileo didn't play his cards to find out if they had that insecurity. So another story, if you go later, was, oh shoot, I forget. Either way, there are a couple of cautions when you're talking about this law. You must use discreet flattery. You know, the outward, blatant flattery. Oh, you're so wonderful. You're so much smarter than me. I could never be as good as you. It's going to come off as ass kissing, and it's ultimately going to harm you more than anything. But discretion when flattering or kind of bolstering your superiors, whether it be your boss, your in-laws, whatever it is, that you're trying to gain favor with, discretion is advised. And you must act naive. It's okay to even though you may necessarily be smarter or more talented than the person ahead of you, act naive. Let them feel as if they are more powerful. If they are weak, refer back to the Viking law. When you see weakness, take charge. One way to take charge is allowing that weakness to be shown through your quiet but calculated power. So now there's 2 additional rules inside this law. It says, 1, you can inadvertently outshine the master by just being yourself. So if you're a highly charismatic person and you just naturally exude this power, you don't want to tiptoe around things. But when it comes to your superiors, according to this book, you have to be cautious and perhaps either A, avoid that person if you just can't tone down your awesomeness, or B, find ways to mask your charm and your intelligence, your superiority to them, when around them only. So act naive if you have to. And 2, never imagine that because your master loves you, that you can do anything you want. So be very careful with this one. If you imagine you've got the golden key to the city and you just go out there doing whatever you want, all it takes is one mistake. It's going to fall back on your manager, your master, your boss, whatever the case may be. It's going to tarnish their reputation. And just as quick as they gave you favor, take it away. So never take a position for granted, and don't ever let favors and gifts go to your head. that's pretty much it for the first law in a nutshell. If you want a little more detail and you want to read this for yourself, I'll provide a link to the book below in the description. That's all I got for today. See y'all tomorrow. Bye for now.